What you are seeing here is part of a project that started a few months ago and that will end in a few months. So we're kind of at the middle point of an 8-month process of a project called HUDUD. HUDUD is a word in Arabic. It means frontiers in the plural. We decided to take it as a title for the project because of this book, Dreams of Trespass, by a Moroccan feminist writer, sociologist, among other things, called Fatema Mernissi, who passed away a few years ago. So the project is curated by myself and Dries Ksikis, who's not with us today, and it consists in trying to, kind of in a modest experimental way, build bridges between university context and art context in Morocco, provided the fact that art doesn't happen in universities there. And to just kind of not work at the macro institutional level, but more have an open call and work with interested and interesting participants working on the question of mobility, of bodies, of ideas, of forms. So the basis of this is really a workshop kind of context where we started here on Sunday morning and we've been here every day, kind of set up these workstations. Everybody brought the materials they've been collecting, their fieldwork, their thoughts, their ideas, their images and all of that. And we've been kind of workshopping everything. Everybody's been presenting their work to everybody else, getting comments, rethinking everything. The different participants are at different stages of their projects. The group has mentors that they work with and who kind of work with us in the workshops, but also who follow the work from, since November. So when we're not all together, there are Skype conversations, emails, etc. The two mentors of this group are Sabah Innab, who is with us, Palestinian architect, artist, urban researcher, and Hassan Darsi, who's a Moroccan visual artist who was with us until this afternoon but had to catch a flight. So he's not here today. And then we have different guests who come for 3 hours, a whole day. We did a full day workshop on Sunday here with Jonas Tinius, who's an anthropologist at Humboldt University. We did another one yesterday morning with Marion von Osten, who's an artist, curator, researcher. So it's kind of a way of creating collectives while working on individual projects.
Bauhaus is not a factual historical project. How we envisage it is much more how people imagine or needed to imagine a new society and new pedagogical radical reforms to constitute new societies, but also new relations to the arts. So Bauhaus Imaginista was formerly called Bauhaus on the move or migrant Bauhaus, which would say that there is a Bauhaus traveling and it would not change. And already in the shift of the title, which was for sure a long discussion with all the people who were involved, it says that we are much more interested to think how it was imagined or how Bauhaus itself had to imagine a new future.
Then we realized in the context of trying to occupy the space in a way that made sense for this project in progress, that it didn't really make sense for us to set up a stage and chairs and do a talk. We thought it might make more sense to stay true to the workshop nature of things that we've been doing for 4 days and just formalize it a little bit more, kind of instead of just having papers and notes and everything everywhere, to give you a current state, a formalized current state of each project. Maybe something very basic about each one, so you have just a basic sense, and then name and show you the artists, and then you can talk to them, because that's the point of this evening. Zineb has been taking as her project for HUDUD a project that she had started before HUDUD and kind of trying to continue it, reformulate it, etc. It's a book project, graphic book project. This is one state of the book, and the idea is to continue it. The book has to do with the history of a house, which is the house of a family over several generations, and how the stories of this family, as told through certain characters, intersect with the larger history of Morocco over the last century, basically, like during the French protectorate or colonization, the moment of independence, and then the post-colonial moment until today. So transformations of society and transformations of a family and a family house, a space of a family. And you're very welcome to speak to her. She has also included in her display, I should say it now, because it's been an important part of the project because of the notion of borders, but also an important part of coming to Berlin for all of us or some of us. There is some interesting correspondence here between Zineb and the consular services. This is a full part of the project, and don't hesitate to talk to, I think several of the participants have a lot to say about the question of the European border in a way. This is Lotfi's station, Lotfi Suidi, and he has been working on the territory of the old city of Tétouan, the Medina of Tétouan, and on something that you see in certain small streets of the Medina, whereby some windows are obstructed in ways that are not necessarily customary or that we're not necessarily used to. It could be walls, it could be angled pieces of wood or of metal, etc. So he's been working on this question of the threshold between the inside and the outside. So this is kind of a set of images that he took in the Medina, and then the beginning of a project about this question of the gaze and visibility and thresholds through some drawings and kind of a prototype for a sculpture in a way. This way, this is Maryam Jal. Maryam is trained as an architect, and she has been working and thinking about Morocco as a land of immigration. That is to say, we've known Morocco for decades as a land of emigration, but now it's a territory for immigration, both actually from Europe, where we have European expats, as they call them, who come and stay, but also migrants from different regions of Africa who either go through Morocco trying to get to Europe or who actually stay in the territory. So this creates all sorts of social questions and situations, and Maryam has been wondering how, as an architect, to respond to this. She has identified 4 key words or key notions or key concepts that are involved in this question of migration and dwelling and transitory spaces and all of that. And she's asking you to tell her, by writing on the little pieces of paper, what each of these words or one of these words kind of mean to you or makes you think of. Nassim is a visual artist and graphic designer, is that fair to say? He has been working on trucks within Morocco, transporting goods and things, and on specifically the aesthetics of these trucks. They tend to be decorated, sometimes heavily decorated, with letters, with drawings, with different motifs. They tend to also be the interior spaces are worked in specific ways, and so he's been exploring the trucks, their decorations, the social context of the social and economic context of how these decorations are made, where they are made, by whom they are made, who drives the trucks, and more generally the notion of the road, what is involved in road travel visually, so that you have some drawings, a notebook of sketches. You have a video that comes from filming the road while traveling through it. So a kind of complex exploration of the road and what it involves from different angles. Yassine is a social scientist who recently defended a PhD dissertation on the perceptions of the black body within Moroccan society. And two of the articles that he produced as part of his research are here. They are in Arabic. They do have abstracts in English. And he's been trying to, at least in what is presented here, because there is more to the project, but kind of extend this work that he has done through interviews with communities, etc., to extend it in the visual realm by looking at some murals that have been produced as part of a kind of art festival in the city of Rabat, and looking at three particular murals that contain depictions of black bodies and looking at the symbols or implicit biases that those pictures involve. So there's kind of a work of visual research, let's say, having to do with these depictions in the public space. The last station we have is Abdeslam Ziouziou, who's working on a project that is linked to family history, and in particular his own father, and the history of his father, who's a psychiatrist in Morocco, and an experiment that his father led that had to do with an attempt at humanizing psychiatric space over a period of some years, and that has involved a kind of collective work done with a number of Moroccan artists, in particular painters, in 1981. So the project has to do with documenting, gathering a lot of documentation about this project, some of it in personal archives, some of it through people who participated in it. So it could be nurses in the hospital, it could be artists who participated, it could be Abdeslam's own father, if there's any press around the topic. And it's a project that's at the intersection of the history of psychiatry in general and in Morocco, the history of art, kind of a moment in the history of art in Morocco where artists were very concerned with their own participation in society, who did a lot of projects in public spaces. So the intersection of all of these fields and what this can produce. There's a lot of documentation here, some press, some images, there's some sound as well, but I prefer to leave it to him to say more if he would like. And I think this project also involves a call for your participation. Feel free to have a drink and to walk around and to talk to them, because they are leaving tomorrow and so they need to talk to you.